If you came for smooth breathing, you've come to the right place. Hi, all of you awesome scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine channel, your favourite place for the latest scuba diving news and gear reviews. And today I have 𝐼𝐻's latest flagship regulator, the Planet with an 88X TBP first stage, which is built to be the best breathing regulator thanks to several unique features. The first being the unconventional 𝐸matic technology, which is a revolutionary pneumatic system that minimizes the number of mechanical parts inside but maximizes reliability. Unlike conventional regulators, this second stage is free from wear-prone springs. Instead, it uses intermediate pressure to control airflow, resulting in a very natural, resistance-free breathing. Ooh, this is how it arrives in a pretty big box for a regulator, but there's a lot of regulator inside of it. So, I mean, on the outside, certified performance down to 200 meters, which is deeper than I'm ever going to go. Proven technology at 400 meters. So yeah, for pretty basic recreational dives, it should do fine, as well as some pretty technical stuff. Inside, we have a separate EVA 𝐼𝐻 case. Shiny 𝐼𝐻 logo on the front, a grab handle at the top. It's got these kind of scalloped edges, so it's not just a basic box, and then a zippered opening inside the box. The first stage has come a little bit loose, but that's fine. You get the Planet second stage as well. I imagine there's a hose in here. Well, I'll have a dig around for it. Inside of the top like mesh pocket, you have all the books of words. We have information, just general technical information about the regulator, 𝐼𝐻's limitation of liability and legal stuff, quality control, a AST system. That's a cool section. I'll get to it in a second. Basically, it stops moisture and like dust and stuff from getting inside of the inlet to the first stage. A 𝐼𝐻's sticker so you can represent, a book, instruction user guide on regulators, and regulator manual supplement, extra information. Underneath this foam, I mean, there's a lot of information on this sort of cardboard. It feels like a kind of a display case that you'd have for the dive center. But if I lift this foam padding out, you get a braided hose, and yeah, it's a pretty standard braided hose that's quite easy to fit just with a couple of spanners, and then it's just open to use that as a regulator bag. So yeah, let's take a close look at the regulator itself. So let's start with the first stage, the 88X, which is a 5-port swivel turret first stage that comes in both A-clamp and DIN configurations. The inlet, which has 𝐼𝐻's AST or auto sealing technology, which is basically a small spring-loaded plug that seals the inlet to the first stage when it's depressurized to basically keep dust and water from getting in. As soon as you pressurize the cylinder, it just pushes against that spring, but depressurized, it just plugs that hole. I still wouldn't be dunking it in water after a dive, but every little helps. The hexagonal shape of the DIN wheel ensures a firm grip, extra control, and prevents slipping. So even in wet or cold conditions, if you're wearing gloves, it's still easy to screw it in and unscrew it. Fitted with a TBP dry kit, a proprietary twin piston technology on the inside of the first stage is environmentally sealed for better performance on cold water dives, and it also helps to prevent contaminants from getting inside any section of the first stage. Measuring in at a fairly lofty 105 millimeters in length, it's quite a long first stage, and it weighs in at just over 780 grams, so it is on the heavier end of first stage designs, but that's a good thing when it comes to cold water diving, which is really this regulator's specialty. 2 symmetrical high pressure ports with a 10-degree port angle. It just angles your high pressure hoses slightly away from the neck and the shoulder of the cylinder, or slightly forwards, depending on that first stage configuration. Natural dynamic flow control on all low pressure ports to ensure maximum delivery of air to the second stage. It basically just smooths the airflow throughout each of the 5 ports. 4 of those ports are rotating on an asymmetric turret. There's kind of a blank section, or like some forward facing or back facing, depending on which way you want those hoses to route. But 4 of those low pressure ports are on that swiveling turret, so it can turn around, and the 5th port is coming out of the end of the first stage, and that will still rotate. One of those ports must be used by the overpressure release valve, however. Because this system is upstream, the overpressure valve, or OPV, ensures uninterrupted regulator functionality in the unlikely event of an increase in intermediate pressure. With a downstream regulator, if the intermediate pressure gets too high, then your second stages will just start to vent. They themselves act as an overpressure valve. But if something goes wrong inside this first stage, then this overpressure valve will vent the excess pressure and you'll be able to continue to breathe. You can relocate it to any of the other low pressure ports, just like any regular regulator hose on these 3/8 ports. The Planet's second stage is a metal body second stage with Mars' bypass tube as soon as the gas gets towards the second stage, which redirects the airflow straight towards the diver's mouth instead of through the valve restriction itself, which usually leads to valve freezing. It also benefits from the vortex assisted design, which helps to kind of turn and twist the air as it enters the second stage, which helps to smoothen its flow for a very light and very natural feel when you're inhaling, instead of a like fluttering effect that you can get on some other regulators. As you're inhaling, the pressure inside the second stage is reducing, but then it's increasing as the valve opens, so then the valve closes a bit, so you can kind of get a fluttering effect. Because you're bypassing it and you're twisting the gas, you're reducing that change of pressure inside that second stage, so it's actually much smoother. A huge pivoting purge button on the front of the second stage lets you fine tune the purge. Even with thick gloves, you can press the button a little bit to check functionality, or you can press it a lot, all the way in to clear it. And the huge size, it basically takes up most of the front cover, makes it very hard to miss even if you're unfamiliar with its design. The metal body does make it heavy in the mouth out of the water. It weighs in at about 328 grams, but the metal body does help with heat transfer. It reduces dry mouth because when you exhale, the moisture in your breath condenses on the inside of the metal, and it makes it extra tough to keep up with what our regulators go through. And first for me, the Planet has a manual override button on one side. Now, when you're diving, if you do accidentally press the manual override button, nothing bad's gonna happen. It just gets a little harder to breathe from because the override button kind of helps to stop a free flow by pushing the valve closed. I found it very hard to actually get this to free flow, to actually test it out. But once it did, as soon as you press that button in, it stops. So you don't have to plug the mouthpiece or anything, you just press that manual override button. It's basically the opposite of a purge button, simply. Breathing wise, it is as smooth as Mars claims. I've always been impressed by their designs, and they've always been very innovating. And making this regulator upstream was a bold choice. I myself, I've never had an issue with upstream regulators. I know some people don't like them. I've used them before for years. They've yet to fail me. The fact that the OPV, the overpressure valve, needs to take up a low pressure port is annoying. Other upstream regulator designs have it actually built into the first stage body itself. I do like the second stage. Again, I like metal body second stages for their cold water performance, their tough resilience. I also like how the moisture from your breath condenses inside to make the next inhale less dry, and that bypass tube really helps to warm the gas a bit when it's just before it enters the second stage. Weight-wise, it is a heavier regulator, but that is the price you pay for better cold water performance. It isn't prohibitively heavy though. I'd still be happy packing it in my suitcase, and it's a tough regulator that can go anywhere. And with Mars's typical lack of adjustments, they don't do like twiddly fiddly bits. The regulator is just at home working both in warm and cold water. So if you dive very tough cold water dives, but you also go on holiday from time to time in the tropics, it's a perfect regulator for that. And you don't have to constantly be thinking about fiddling and adjusting just different dialing knobs and whether the Venturi switch is on or off. Configuration wise, the 5-port swivel turret gives you the best options for any cylinder configuration, singles, twins, side mount, whatever it is. It is a little bit larger than other first stages, but again, it's nothing. It's like a couple of centimeters compared to like the rest of our kit that we're bringing. It's honestly nothing. Price wise, the Planet costs about 780 British pounds, or just shy of 900 euros, which puts the Planet in the upper tier of regulators, but still far from the most expensive. And you're getting a premium regulator packed full of features and one of the best breathing qualities out there. For more information, of course, head over to the Mars website and subscribe to our magazine, where we will put the regulator through a thorough test and write-up in our magazine. And of course, visit the Go Diving show. Mars will be there with their huge stand displaying their latest gear. I'll pop a link up here where you can buy tickets. Remember to like, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube if you found this useful. Thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.